You can win an argument and still lose the only thing that matters, the other person. You can prove your point, corner them with facts, even make them admit they were wrong, yet walk away with less trust, less warmth, and less respect than you had before. I have watched many men and women spend their best energy being right and, without noticing it, slowly lose the goodwill of everyone around them. Most people believe the opposite. They think, if I don't argue, I'm weak. If I let this pass, I lose. So they jump in, correct, attack, and insist. They say to themselves, I must not let this stand. But here is the quiet truth. When you argue, you might gain a small victory in words and still suffer a great defeat in relationship. You may win the point and lose the person. You can be entirely right in your facts and still be wrong in your approach. You can have the better logic, the better evidence, the more accurate memory, and yet, if the other person walks away feeling humiliated, resentful, or unheard, your victory will cost you more than it is worth. I would rather see you keep a friend than win a quarrel. I would rather see you keep the respect of your colleague than score a clever remark that they never forget. Think of what happens at work. You argue strongly with a colleague in a meeting. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps your idea is better. The room grows tense. You push. They push back. Eventually, you win. Your solution is chosen. On the surface, you have succeeded. But inside, your colleague remembers the sting. Weeks later, when you need their support, when an opportunity arises to speak for you or against you, that old argument is still there. You won the debate and lost a piece of their goodwill. Or picture a relationship, a husband and wife, or partners sitting at the table. A small disagreement arises over money, plans, or responsibilities. One of them is determined not to lose. Voices rise, faces harden. Finally, one says something sharp enough to silence the other. There is a sense of triumph, I showed them. But look at the other person's eyes. They may be quiet, but they are not closer. They feel smaller. They feel misunderstood. They move away inside. You have won the argument and lost a little intimacy. The same story repeats with friends and family. A dozen small arguments about politics, beliefs, or old memories. Each one seems minor, but each one leaves a small scar. That's just how he is, they say. You can't say anything around her without it turning into a debate. One day, you look around and realize people avoid certain topics with you, or avoid you altogether when something important must be discussed. Not because you were always wrong, but because you always had to argue. From a psychological point of view, the reason is very simple. When you attack a person's opinion, they do not feel an attack on the opinion. They feel an attack on themselves. The mind does not say, my idea is under question. It says, I am under attack. And when people feel attacked, they do what every creature does. They defend. They protect their ego, not the truth. They cling more tightly to the very idea you are trying to push them away from. Argument does not open the mind. It locks it. When you say, you are wrong, you are not inviting them to examine the facts. You are inviting them to protect their self-image. You may bring more and more evidence, louder and louder words, but you are trying to unlock a door they have already bolted from the inside. You might force a silence, but you will not create a real change of heart. Agreement must grow from within a person, not be hammered into them from outside. Now, I am not suggesting that you must never disagree, or that you must pretend to accept what you know is harmful or false. What I am saying is this: there is a better way than arguing. There are ways of speaking and listening that allow you to keep your self-respect and theirs, and that very often lead them to change their own mind without you ever raising your voice or striking a blow at their pride. In this talk, I will show you what to do instead of arguing. I will give you words you can use at work, at home, and with friends that turn conflict into conversation, and conversation into understanding. You will learn how to step out of the habit of winning and into the practice of building bridges. And if you are willing to try it, you will discover something remarkable. You do not become weaker when you stop arguing. You become someone others trust enough to listen to. As I watched people quarrel in homes, in offices, in classrooms, I came to believe that you can never truly win an argument. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you still lose goodwill. You may walk away with the satisfaction of having the stronger case, but the other person walks away with hurt pride. And hurt pride is a quiet enemy. It does not shout, it remembers. Very few people, after being defeated in an argument, lean back and say, "You argued so well, I now admire you more." They are far more likely to say to themselves, "I'll show him," and look for chances, small or large, to even the score. They may not even do it consciously. They simply feel colder toward you, less eager to cooperate, less willing to help you in the future. You thought you won. In reality, you traded a moment of triumph for a slow loss of trust. Why is this so? Because an argument rarely attacks the problem. It attacks the person's self-esteem. When you say, "That's ridiculous," or "You're wrong," or "How can you think that?" you are not merely questioning an idea. You are touching their sense of intelligence, their dignity, their judgment. The human mind is built to protect those things. And when people feel those are under attack, they do not go searching for truth. They go searching for defense. Once the ego is engaged, the facts become soldiers. Each side uses them not to understand, but to defend its pride. The louder you argue, the more stubbornly they cling to their position, not because it is strong, but because backing down now feels like humiliation. You may force them into silence, but you will not win their heart. Agreement must come from within a person. It cannot be hammered into them from outside like a nail. There is a great difference between saying, "You're wrong, I'm right," and saying, "Let me see it from your side first." The first builds a wall, the second lays a bridge. The first says, "I am against you." The second says, "I am willing to stand beside you and look with you." The content of the discussion may be the same, but the spirit is entirely different. The key to handling disagreement without argument is simple to state, though harder to practice. Seek understanding first. Welcome their view honestly, and use phrases that disarm instead of inflame. Instead of beginning with, "That's not true," you might say, "That's an interesting way of looking at it. Help me understand how you came to that conclusion." Rather than saying, "You don't know what you're talking about," you say, "I may be missing something. How do you see it?" These words do not surrender your mind. They simply postpone your judgment long enough to let the other person feel safe. Let me give you a small, everyday example. A customer walks into a shop and says sharply to the clerk, "These prices are outrageous." You're taking advantage of people. The clerk, feeling attacked, replies in the spirit of argument, "Sir, our prices are fair. Everything has gone up. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy." At once, the customer's anger rises. Voices harden, faces tighten. Even if the clerk wins by proving the prices are normal, he may lose a customer forever. Now let us imagine another approach, the same complaint. "These prices are outrageous. You're taking advantage of people." The clerk takes a breath and says, "I can understand why it feels that way. Everything has gone up so quickly. May I show you why this item is priced as it is, and if there's any discount we can offer?" The facts have not changed. The price is the same, but the clerk has not argued. He has first acknowledged the feeling, then invited a calm look at the facts. Often, the customer's tone will soften. He may still think the price is high, but he is less likely to feel cheated and more likely to feel respected. The same principle works at home. A husband says, "You never listen to me," or a wife says, "You don't care about what I need." The natural impulse is to argue, "That's not true. I always listen," or "I do everything around here." But those replies strike back at the person and the quarrel begins. An alternative is to say, "It hurts to hear that, but it must mean you're feeling unheard. Tell me what I'm missing." You have not agreed that you never listen, but you have set aside the reflex to argue and chosen instead to understand. In an office, two co-workers may disagree about the best way to handle a project. One says, "Your plan will never work." The other, stung, replies, "Well, at least I have a plan," and the battle starts. Yet the same situation could begin with, "You may see something I don't. Tell me what worries you about my approach." Now, instead of fighting, you are inviting them to walk around the problem with you. All of this rests on one quiet decision. Do I want to win this argument, or do I want to win this person? The human law is that argument attacks pride and closes minds, while understanding honors pride and opens them. If you remember that, you will begin to change the first words you choose whenever disagreement appears. In the rest of this talk, I will not tell you never to disagree. That would be impossible. Instead, I will show you what to say and how to listen so that you can disagree without arguing. You will learn phrases that calm rather than inflame, and habits of mind that turn conflict into cooperation instead of combat. Before you can speak differently, you must think differently. Most arguments are not born on the tongue. They are born in the mind, in the quiet decision. I must win. I must not let this pass. If that is your inner command, your words will follow it. They will be sharp, quick, and eager to strike. So the first change is not in your vocabulary, but in your intention. Before entering a disagreement, say to yourself, my goal is not to defeat. My goal is to understand and influence kindly. That one decision changes the tone of your voice, the look in your eyes, and the words you choose. You are no longer stepping into a battlefield. You are stepping into a conversation. You are not carrying a weapon. You are carrying a bridge. Let me give you some phrases that embody this spirit, simple sentences you can keep ready for the next moment when you feel the urge to argue. One of the most powerful is, I may be wrong. I often am. Let's examine the facts together. Those first 5 words, I may be wrong, do something remarkable. They lower defenses. They tell the other person, your pride is safe with me. I am not here to crush you. When you add, I often am, you humanize yourself. You are not a prosecutor. You are a fellow traveler who has made mistakes and learned from them. Then, let's examine the facts together. Turns the conflict sideways. It is no longer you versus me. It is you and me, side by side, looking at the problem. The enemy is not the other person. The enemy is confusion or error, and you are now partners in defeating it. Another gentle phrase is, that's an interesting point. I'd like to understand how you see it. Many people have gone their entire lives without hearing their opinion called interesting in a moment of disagreement. They are used to hearing, that's wrong, or that makes no sense. When you say, that's an interesting point, you are not agreeing that it is correct, but you are honoring the fact that it is worth exploring. You are telling them, you are not foolish for thinking this. You are someone I'm willing to listen to. And when you add, I'd like to understand how you see it, you give them a chance to speak without fear of being immediately struck down. Once they feel heard, they often become more willing to hear you. A third phrase that can save many relationships is, we may both be partly right. Let's see where we agree first. Argument says, one of us must be completely wrong. Life is rarely that simple. In most disagreements, there is some truth on each side. By saying, we may both be partly right, you open the door to cooperation. You are suggesting that you are willing to share the victory. Then, let's see where we agree first. Shifts the focus from what divides you to what unites you. Once you have found common ground, it is much easier to explore the differences without hostility. Another phrase I have found helpful over and over again is, help me see what I might be missing. Those words are an invitation and a gift. You are giving the other person a role, that of a guide, not an enemy. You are saying, I am not finished. I can still learn. You may have something valuable to add. Few people can resist the chance to teach. And while they are teaching you, they are not attacking you. They are more relaxed, more open, and more ready to hear your perspective when it comes. Let us see how these phrases change ordinary scenes. At work, imagine a disagreement about a plan. The argument version begins like this. Your idea won't work. You're not thinking long term. The moment those words leave your mouth, the other person's pride flares. They think, he doesn't respect my judgment. You have a fight on your hands. Now try the Carnegie version. I may be wrong. I often am. But I'm worried about how this will work long term. Help me see how you're thinking about the next 6 months. You have still expressed your concern. You have not surrendered your mind, but you have done it in a way that invites them to explain, not to defend. Very often, you will discover that they have thought of something you missed, or they will see, on their own, that their plan needs adjustment. At home, consider a disagreement about money or chores. The argument version sounds like this. You never help enough. You always spend too much. Such words do not describe behavior. They attack character. They use never and always, 2 of the sharpest knives in any quarrel. Now listen to a different approach. We may both be partly right. I feel stressed about the money, and you feel stressed about the workload. Let's see where we agree first. What do we both want here? Suddenly, it is not you against me, it is us against the problem. You are acknowledging both perspectives. You are beginning with common goals instead of accusations. From that place, compromise becomes possible where argument never could. In social or political discussions, the argument version is terribly familiar. That's ridiculous. I can't believe you think that. You're part of the problem. Each of those phrases swings a hammer at the person's identity. No wonder they swing back. Try instead, that's an interesting point. I'd like to understand how you came to that view. You listen, and when it is your turn, you say, I see it differently. May I share how I arrived at my view? You still disagree. But you have turned a potential fight into an exchange. You have treated the other not as an enemy to be silenced, but as a mind to be understood. The key idea is this: never start with, "You're wrong," even if in your heart you are convinced they are. Those two words slam the door before you have even reached it. Instead, begin with curiosity, common ground, and a willingness to be corrected. Begin with, "I may be wrong," or "Help me see," or "Let's find where we agree." These phrases do not weaken you. They strengthen your influence. I am not asking you to pretend you have no opinions. I am asking you to present them in such a way that other people can bear to hear them. Remember, your goal is not to win a moment of superiority. It is to win lasting respect and cooperation. The words you choose can either sharpen the knives or open the doors. Let me show you how these ideas look in the small theaters of everyday life: an office, a home, a simple conversation between friends. You will see the same pattern over and over. Argument turns people into opponents. Understanding turns them into partners. Scene 1, the boss and the employee. A young man once told me, "Mr. Carnegie, my boss never listens. Every time I suggest something, he shuts it down. I'm tired of it. I argue because I want him to see he's wrong." I asked him to describe what happened. "Well," he said, "last week we were discussing a new procedure. I told him, 'That's not going to work. You're ignoring the delays in shipping.' He frowned and said, 'We'll do it my way.' I pushed back. 'You're making a mistake.' After that, he barely spoke to me for days. Notice how that exchange began. The employee started with, 'That's not going to work. You're making a mistake.' He attacked the judgment of his boss. The boss did what most people do when they feel attacked. He defended his pride. The better the employee argued, the colder the relationship became. I suggested a different approach the next time a disagreement arose. A week later, he returned with a small smile. 'We had another situation,' he told me. He proposed a plan I disagreed with. I remembered what you said, and instead of arguing, I took a breath and said, 'You may be right. Could we look at this approach together? Here's what worries me.' And I showed him the data about the delays. What happened? His boss did not flare up this time. He leaned forward, looked at the numbers, and said, 'I hadn't seen that. All right, let's adjust the plan.' No raised voices, no icy silence afterward. In fact, the boss later told him, 'I appreciate how you brought that up. What changed?' Not the facts. The facts were present in both versions. What changed was the beginning. In the argument version, the message was, 'You're wrong.' Pride heard the challenge and closed the door. In the Carnegie version, the message was, 'You may be right. Let's look together. Here is my concern.' Pride felt safe. The door stayed open. Being heard allowed the boss's ego to relax. Once his self-esteem was not under attack, his mind was free to consider the information. Instead of losing face, he could simply adjust his view, and the employee did not have to shout to be effective. He had to speak in a way that invited cooperation. Scene 2. The couple and the weekend. Now let us step into a home on a Friday evening. A couple is deciding how to spend the weekend. One wants to visit family. The other wants rest after a long week. It begins innocently. "We should go see my parents on Saturday," she says. "I'm exhausted. I don't want to drive all that way," he replies. Then come the two words that have damaged more relationships than almost any others. "You never," and "you always." "You never want to see my family. You always make it about you." That's not true. You always exaggerate. You never notice how hard I work. By this point, the argument is no longer about the weekend. It is about character. Each is defending themselves and attacking the other. The weekend will be sour no matter what they decide. Now imagine the same situation with a different beginning. She says again, "We should go see my parents on Saturday." He feels the old irritation rising. But this time he remembers. "My goal is not to win. My goal is to understand and be fair," he answers. "Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. How does this look from your side? Then we can see what's fair." Those words do something almost magical. They do not deny his tiredness. They do not deny her desire. But they remove the accusation. They show humility and a willingness to see her perspective. She might say, "From my side, it feels like we keep postponing seeing them. They miss you, and I feel caught in the middle." Now he is not the villain. He is just hearing how it feels to her. He can respond, "I didn't realize it felt that way. From my side, I'm worn out and worried I'll be irritable if we go." They are now discussing two realities, not defending their egos. They might decide to go for a shorter visit or postpone to the next weekend and call her parents in the meantime. Whatever the solution, Both feel more heard and less attacked. Why does this work? Because when someone says, maybe I'm wrong, I've been wrong before, how does this look from your side? They offer a gift, the gift of being heard first. Being heard calms the nervous system. It tells the other person, you matter. Your view counts. When the ego feels respected, it no longer needs to fight. It can listen. Scene 3. Friends and strong opinions. Finally, consider two friends discussing a sensitive topic, politics, health, or lifestyle choices. One says something the other finds foolish, even dangerous. The impulse to argue can be overwhelming. That's ridiculous. One snaps. I can't believe you think that. At once, the other stiffens. Well, I do, and I can't believe you don't. Before long, voices rise, tones harden, and a simple difference of opinion becomes a personal separation. The subject might change, but something has shifted between them. They will be more cautious next time, more guarded, less open. Now let us try a different line. You feel strongly about this. What led you to that conclusion? Notice the dignity in that sentence. You are not calling their view wise or foolish. You are simply acknowledging that it matters to them and asking for the story behind it. They might say, I grew up with these beliefs, or I had an experience that convinced me, or I've been reading about it for months. As they talk, you may still disagree, but you now see a human being with a history, not just an opinion with a label. When they finish, you can say, I see it differently. May I share my side? Most people, after being listened to fairly, will grant that permission. You now have a chance to present your view without attack, without insult, and without raising their defenses. The disagreement remains, but the friendship remains too. Once again, the psychology is simple. Being heard allows the ego to relax. Argument removed allows respect to grow. The mind opens not when it is shouted at, but when it feels safe. In all three scenes, nothing mystical occurred. No one surrendered their convictions. No one pretended to agree. The difference lay entirely in the way the conversation began. In the first versions, people led with attack. You're wrong, you never, that's ridiculous. Pride took over, and the quarrel grew. In the second versions, they led with humility and curiosity. You may be right, maybe I'm wrong. Help me see. What led you to that conclusion? Pride felt protected, and cooperation became possible. You do not avoid arguments by being silent. You avoid them by changing the way you begin. When we come to the end of this lesson, I want you to stand back and see the picture clearly. You cannot truly win an argument. Even when your logic is flawless and your evidence is overwhelming, the moment you make another person feel small, defensive, or humiliated, the victory turns to dust. Arguing attacks pride, and pride is the guardian of the mind. Once it is wounded, the mind closes like a fist. There is another way. You have seen it unfold through these examples. When you begin with understanding, when you speak calmly, when you use phrases that lower defenses and open doors, you do not lose your strength. You gain influence. You create the atmosphere in which real agreement can grow. You may have seen yourself as someone who must fight for every point, someone who cannot let a challenge go unanswered. But you can become something far greater, someone others respect because you handle disagreement differently. People follow those who make them feel safe, not those who make them feel small. Let this be your new identity. I am someone who turns conflict into understanding instead of argument. And let this be another. People feel safe disagreeing with me, and that is why they trust me. These are not slogans. They are commitments, new ways of showing up in the world. Repeat them, and back them with action. Each time you choose calm over combat, you strengthen them. Let me offer you a few affirmations you can carry with you. I don't need to argue to be strong. Strength is not in the volume of your voice, but in your ability to remain steady while others tremble. I seek to understand before I seek to persuade. People listen to those who first listen to them. Disagreement is a chance to build respect, not destroy it. If handled well, a disagreement can leave two people closer than before. Now let us turn these ideas into daily habits. Tomorrow and each day after, choose one moment, a small disagreement at work, a difference of opinion at home, a comment that annoys you. Instead of arguing, take a breath. Use one of the phrases from earlier. I may be wrong. Or, help me see what I'm missing. Or, let's find where we agree first. You will feel the atmosphere shift. You will see the other person soften. At the end of the day, ask yourself, where did I choose understanding over argument today? If the answer is even once, you are already changing the way you move through the world. Before you go, I'd like to invite you to try this with the very next disagreement you face. Not tomorrow, today. Let this be the moment when you begin practicing a new kind of strength. And if you need to refresh these ideas, rewatch this lesson. Repetition forms character. Now, I have a question for you, several. In fact, where are you from? How old are you? And in what area of your life do you argue the most? Work, relationships, family, or even social media? Share it below. You may discover you are not alone. And if you want to keep learning how to handle people in a way that builds respect instead of conflict, how to speak so others listen, how to understand without surrendering your own mind, then subscribe. There is much more to learn, and I would be honored to walk with you through it.